a lot of fans' fears came true, and we are playing the Toronto Raptors in round one. And kind of to put this matchup in perspective, we played them 4 times this year. We're 1-3 in all of them of the matchup, but we're 1-3 against them. 3 of the games were decided by exactly 5 points, and 1 of the games was decided by 6 points. So very, very even teams. I mean, the fact that it was only the highest outcome was a 6-point game. It's kind of nuts. So what are your, what are your top 3 worries for this matchup, both of you guys? What are the top 3 things you're most keen in on when it comes to this game, this series against the Raptors?
For me, number 1 is your best defender not playing on the road. I think that's I think that Doc, you gotta make a decision. And do you change the lineup, obviously, for the road games, but do you stick with that same lineup for your home games to try to have some consistency instead of flip-flopping your starters from home and away? I think that's the concern, because he's gone, and you can have other guys step in, but you have to make adjustments and changes that wouldn't be necessary otherwise. Number 2, just the fact that the expectations for us are much different than them. So you have to be able to handle those expectations, and we have a team that wants to win a championship, but the expectations amongst the guys are different as well. Obviously you have certain players that their expectations are way higher than other players. So I think the expectations from the team, from the individuals, and from the coaching staff, you have 2 coaches that both won a championship, but those expectations right now are different.
Yeah.
And I would say, if I had to pick something, the third thing, it was just, the cohesiveness of, now it's playoff time and you don't have the cushion of it's still regular season. Do we have that cohesiveness, and are we together? Are we ready to go? Because any slippage or any game slippage or 2 games. So I think you have that cushion that we had before is no longer there. So we got to be able to play and perform from the beginning of the series, and you're starting out at home, and you have to win those games. You have to win that game 1. You have to win game 2. You have to start on the road, because from there it could snowball and go a different way, and then you're lacking a guy going on the road. So 1 and 2 are very important, and you got to do it out the gate.
Before I get to you, Teja, this weekend, the games against Indiana and Detroit, soon after the news that came out about Thibault, Danny Green was a starting 3 in the 2 games this weekend. Is that, do you think that was kind of planning for the playoffs and being like, this is going to be our starting 5 when we play Toronto?
It's my guess. I think that you have to start, you have to have the consistency to start a guy. If he's going to start there, start him at home. So then you have that consistency within your lineup. And that right there shows you that Thibault not playing, how it already impacts the team, because you have to make that decision. So he's had an impact on it before we ever play a game. But I believe that you have your starting lineup, you have the consistency with that, and then you make a change with your rotation off the bench, and which is pretty common in games where one guy may play one game and don't play the next, or he may play more or less. That's pretty common as far as with your reserves, but it's your starters where you don't really get into a playoff series and you're changing your lineup every 2 games.
Yeah.
You don't really have that. You may drop some minutes for guys, but you don't really yank a guy out the lineup every 2 games in the playoffs in the 7-game series.
Yeah.
Rachel, what are your 3 things you're looking at?
So 1 would be, I'd say Harden stepping up in the series. I know that sounds crazy considering it's James Harden, but he has been struggling on his drive as well as his 3-point shot. So I think in the playoffs again with Brooklyn last year, he averaged 20 points a game. The year before that with Houston, he averaged 29 a game. So just give me somewhere in between there. Give me like 25. And I think I'd be totally fine with his performances. I mean, free throws, threes, driving, whatever he needs to do, just give me 25. So what's interesting is I was dating back to his Houston days last year for Brooklyn. He had his 2nd best 3-point percentage in the playoffs, so 36%. And that's in the 9 years in the playoffs, right? So 9 years with Houston and Brooklyn. And actually, it might have something to do with it's his lowest amount of threes taken in the playoffs, which is 7.3 a game. So he's picking his spots better, I guess. Be a little more selective. But I think some of it's just bad luck. I mean, we were watching the game, and those floaters are just going in and out. So I just think the percentages will even out a bit, and I think he will start to score more. But 25 a game from him, I'd be fine with that. And number 2 would be, Eric said, Matisse, the home and away split. We have a hard enough time guarding them with Matisse, so it terrifies me that those games that we're not going to have them in Toronto, which also puts extra pressure on us to win at home, so we don't have to be in a hole in Toronto without him. So I looked at our year with him this year. So we played Toronto 4 times, twice without Matisse. We lost both of those. One of those, Toronto was missing Van Fleet. One of those, they were missing Siakam. So they won despite missing one of their best players each time. So I believe he guarded him in the December 28th game. He guarded Trent. Trent went 6 of 24. So they'll probably go back to that again because he killed us this last game. So if he can stop him from doing that again, that'd be amazing. So yeah, just as long as – I also don't want Matisse to be blamed for it afterwards and have a Ben Simmons part 2 where he's after the season saying the whole city's turning on me now because I'm blamed for this loss. So
we better win.
Yep. He better play his ass off of the games he does play in. I also don't want him to press either and overcompensate. So it is good. I like that they're doing that. They're putting Danny at that starting so they don't have to give him that like in and out thing. It's good for the team, and I think it's good for him too. So you just have your roll off the bench. Let's just keep that for now. Number 3, I was going to say free throws because I that they always say playoffs are so much tighter in officiating. I'm going to go with Hujan and guard Siakam as my number 3 because he absolutely killed us this year. So in the 3 games he played, he averaged 39 and 8. So the one negative we got on him was that he was 2 of 14 from 3 against us. So give him the Ben Simmons treatment, make him take threes, make him take contested long jumpers, do what you got to do because anything inside the paint, he's just killing us on. And make his ass work on defense too. I don't know who he's going to be guarding, but whoever that is, got to make him work. I think they'll probably start with Tobias on him and then see how that goes and go from there. It hasn't gone well so far. So once he starts getting roasted, they'll probably put Joel on him, but that's another one. That's my 3rd.
How would you handle Siakam, Eric, if you were drawing up a game plan against him? I mean, the guy's averaging 39 against us in the 3 games he plays.
No, 39 and 8. Sorry.
39 and okay, never mind. Sorry.
Okay, 30. Let's stop.
I think that you have to find, you got to mix it up on him. But I think for a guy like him, this not really killing you from the 3-point line is tough because it's not just one way. I mean, it's the dribble drive, it's the offensive rebounds, it's transition. And what makes it a tough matchup is, say, for instance, you have Joel on him, but what if he's not guarding Joel? So now you got a lot of cross matchups. So in transition on misses, if you're missing 50% of the time, that's 50% of the time that Joel is not going to guard him. So you can say a guy is going to guard someone, but if he's not guarding him on the other end, you're still going to have those matchups where someone else is on him. So I feel that you got to have a scheme to where you're trying to send him to his weak hand, try to put him in predicaments like anyone else to take tough shots. But I think keeping him off of the offensive boards, which they have dominated on, keeping them out of transition, because all of those things get easy buckets for them, get more shots for them, and put us in foul trouble. So I think it's sort of like a collective thing, not really just how we defend him and stop him. I think it has to be done from an individual and a team standpoint to keep him off the boards, limit the turnovers in transition, because turnovers is another place they hurt people. So if they're getting those turnovers, those offensive rebounds, that's where they can beat us, and that's where he can get those extra opportunities, those extra shots, and that's how his numbers grow. So we got to make sure that we cut out those TOs, those offensive rebounds, transition baskets. And I think that's how you bring a guy like him down, because he's not really a guy that they're going to call sets for, where he's going to come off taking a lot of jump shots and stuff like that. So he's going to get his points a lot of different ways. So you got to make sure you cut that down.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, this past weekend, a lot of people said that those games were throwaway games, specifically the Sunday game. But Tej and I were talking about how we got Shake Milton got more minutes, Paul Reed got more minutes, guys who are going to have roles off the bench in the playoffs. How beneficial do you think this past weekend was for those guys to kind of get confidence going into the playoffs?
Whenever they can get on the court, it's helpful. If you can get out there and you get an opportunity to play and compete, you can practice all the time. You can work out and do all that, but the game experience and actual experience is the best teacher. So whenever you get out there and you get put in situations and you got to react and play and make decisions and play hard, and you get that experience each time they're out there, is very helpful. So I think that when you get guys in real game situations, it only benefits them going forward. And you get into the playoffs, and that's a different animal, but you still have felt like you've been there before. And, you just got to gain that intensity from the playoffs and how important each possession is. And it's different because you kind of know that, each game can determine, how long your season is going to be for the rest of the way.
Yeah. Our complimentary guys are playing really well right now. They're probably playing the best maybe they have all season.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught the interview post game on Sunday where they asked Doc about Paul, who's going to be the backup five. Is Paul Reed going to get the minutes, or is it DeAndre Jordan? And then he pretty much gave the answer that we've kind of been talking on the show. It depends on matchup. And I guess some reporters didn't like the answer, and they still wanted to kind of they wanted more. Is Paul Reed going to be the backup five? But Doc said it just depends on matchup. With this matchup, who gets backup 5 minutes, DeAndre Jordan or Paul Reed?
I think Paul Reed can end up getting it, but I believe that initially he's going to go with DeAndre Jordan. He's going to give him a shot first. I just don't think that he's just going to go right to Paul Reed. I just don't. I'm not as certain as Doc has as much confidence in Paul Reed as everyone else wants him to have. I'm just not sure that he does.
Yeah.
I believe that he'll give DeAndre a shot. To see how it goes, especially at home. In limited minutes, he's already on record saying Joel's minutes are going to go up. So those minutes are going to be even more limited. And I just think that he'll give Joel a shot first.
Yeah. It probably also depend how the game's going too, right? So if we're up by a little bit and Joel comes back and we're just protecting a lead and we want a guy who can just rebound and play defense, he might just go with DeAndre. We need a little more offense and a guy who can guard maybe like a 4. Maybe he'll go Reed, but yeah. I know one thing. He doesn't like being asked that question anymore. That's for damn sure. Doc's over being asked that question.
When he didn't like, to me, when he the way he responded to that question was telling me that, he's like, you guys are higher on Paul Reed than I am. Now, he didn't say that, but that's what I got from it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are asking me about a guy that, because I think if it was anyone else that was kind of firm in the rotation, it would have been about how much, not if. We're talking about if a guy plays. So I just
this isn't Paul Reed's Hollywood tour, all right? Yeah, basically that's what.
So for him to say that, you know what I'm saying, to respond like that, that basically told me like I think fans are a little higher on him than Doc is.
Yeah. He brought up practice too. So they're seeing things that we're not seeing every day,
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's something. It's something there for, that he obviously Paul performs well enough that people get excited for him to play more. But it's also maybe something there that we don't see for them to feel like he's not quite ready.
Yeah. And he brought up, the other coaches too. He was like, all the other coaches are seeing it. So he's trying to distribute that blame. Like, it ain't just me, guys. All of us are in agreement about us tempering our expectations of Paul Reed. So just chill out pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just generally with Doc's, when we saw last year's playoffs, Shake Milton's minutes were kind of inconsistent. Tyrese's minutes were inconsistent.
Yep, Maxey's definitely.
Yeah, but here's the question: like, they were inconsistent. Were they inconsistent during the regular season and the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what. So did any of them not play much during the regular season, then played a great deal during the playoffs?
Yeah, Maxey would have games where he played a lot, then he played in the low teens for a couple games. He was all over the place during the season.
Yeah, but in the playoff stuff, did a guy not play very much during the regular season, but play more in the playoffs? Because that's what we're asking. But that's what we're asking with Paul Reed. That's what we're asking.
No, I know.
A different circumstance.
It is promising that they gave him a lot of Toronto minutes, though, a few days ago. I mean, that was a preview, right? We knew we had a good chance of playing him at that point.
Yeah,
so that's a good sign.
I mean, that's playing a little, showing your hand a little bit too to see, But that doesn't mean he's going to play. That's just maybe showing Toronto a little something different.
The regular season game in the playoffs, he wants to go. They got Jordan for the experience.
Now Toronto's going to prepare for him.
Yep.
It'll be interesting. I know that the backup five will be a hot topic throughout the playoffs.
I mean, we talk about the backup five, but let's be real. Like the five that says he's the MVP is going to get the majority of minutes. So if we got to talk about the backup five, then we got a big concern here.
Yeah,
that's true. Unless he gets in foul trouble. I hope not. I hope he doesn't get in foul trouble.
Yeah, that's a good point though. Because that's funny though, because I've heard more about the backup five talk and more so than the MB talk as we think about the Toronto series. So
he's going to go up, 4 to 8 minutes a game. So this backup five, he's going to play less. So let's make sure that the starting five plays well.